The college football playoff rankings have been revealed. Shedeur Sanders shine and can the Lady Tigers win another national championship? Next on Talking Sporty. Let's go.
We talking sporty. We talking sporty.
All right, siblings, welcome back to Talking Sporty with L Franchise. So yesterday, the college football playoff rankings were revealed, and as always, with any college sports and tournament type situation, you're gonna have people who are thrilled and people who are unhappy. So let's get to the 12-team field. 12-team field consists of Indiana, number one seed, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas Tech, Oregon. Those are the four with the buys. Oregon at 5, Ole Miss at 6, Texas A&M at 7, Oklahoma at 8. Here's where things get sticky: Alabama at 9, Miami at 10, Tulane 11, and James Madison at 12. So let's go to the points of contention right now. In the previous polls, Notre Dame, they were actually in at 10, and this last poll, the committee had Miami jump Notre Dame. Now the committee explanation was that you had Notre Dame at 10, BYU at 11, Miami at 12. Once BYU lost, it put the final spot between Miami and Notre Dame. And with that, you have a head-to-head matchup that you can go off of for Miami and Notre Dame. Yeah, Notre Dame might look better than Miami now, could be a better team as the season progressed, but you cannot dismiss head-to-head. I think the committee got that right. Another thing, Alabama. A lot of people are saying or upset about, I guess, the fact that Alabama didn't drop in the rankings. I was surprised about that. They were 9 in the previous rankings, but they lost to Georgia in a thorough fashion, and they didn't move a spot. And people, they say things like, "Well, BYU got punished." Well, you have to take into account, right? Alabama beat multiple top 25 teams during the season, including Georgia, right? BYU, they beat one top 10, 25 team. You clearly didn't have the strength of schedule Alabama had. And both times they played Texas Tech, they got demolished. So I don't think BYU was on the outside looking in from jump, and them losing, of course, they're not going to get in the playoff. Um, I think, a lot of people say things rigged for Alabama, but I think Alabama is deserving. I think you can't punish a team if you're already in for losing a conference championship game to a top three team. Like I don't agree with that. Um, Duke, another thing, Duke, stop. Duke fans, stop. Shout out to y'all ACC champs. We respect it, but we can't even talk playoff. Y'all got 5 losses. 5 losses. Um, Tulane and James Madison. Shout out to the Green Wave. New Orleans, stand up. I think Tulane looked extremely good. I thought Tulane would lose to North Texas, because I was actually in attendance at the game the previous week when they played Charlotte, and they looked horrible, turning the ball over, just kind of laxed. And they came in real focused. You can tell they rallying. The team is rallying, and they buying into what Coach John Summerall, just their run, just the run, and I don't know if they beat Ole Miss. They play Ole Miss. I don't know if they beat Ole Miss, but I think it may be more competitive than the 45-10 drubbing they suffered in Oxford earlier this season. And James Madison from the Sun Belt, and they got in because Duke beat Virginia. So Virginia, the thing is, you get the top 5 conference champion winners, the highest rank, the five highest ranked conference champion winners. So with Virginia dropping that game in the ACC championship, James Madison and Tulane were the two last conference champions with the highest ranking. Duke wasn't even in the top 25 with the 5 losses. So that's how we end up with James Madison against Oregon. I think one thing that's being lost in the midst of all this talk about should Notre Dame be in Alabama, things of that nature, is how really good this field is. This is a good playoff field. Um, Especially the top 4 teams. I wouldn't be mad if we had the old system and these 4 teams just duked it out for the national championship. That's how good I think Ohio State, Indiana, Georgia, and Texas Tech are. I think this is real good. All have good defenses. All have extremely good defenses. Georgia offense sometimes, will stall out, but I think these are all high level teams, and I can't wait to see who wins it. I ain't gonna lie. I'm low key rooting for Indiana to win it. It's something about just how they built their program. Shout out to Kirk Sagnity, man. I like his style. I like how he talks. Another thing to wrap up this college football. So when Notre Dame got left out the college football playoff, they actually declined the bid for the bowl invitation. And they're not the only team. We've seen 10 teams decline bowl bids. 7 of those teams are actually 5-7 teams. Back in the gap, people used to play for bowl eligibility. And that's kind of, before the 12-team playoff and even the 14 playoff. But it's like teams not even feeling like whether in Notre Dame case, it's probably like, you salty about not making the CFP. It's like, is it worth it? You probably have a lot of players that's gonna opt out and things of that nature. And it may be the same with these other teams. You know players not gonna play. It's like, I guess they saying what's the point of playing the bowl? Have we reached a point to where bowls don't matter? I know they don't matter as much, but do they even matter at all if you're not in the 12-team playoff? And that's the danger of, when you expanding the field and keep expanding, people saying want expansion, but it's going to be to the detriment of the other bowl games, you know? So I if I had to pick a team to win it all right now, I'm gonna go Indiana. I'm on record. I'm going Indiana. Up next, we're gonna talk about Shedeur Sanders and NFL Week 14 action. It's Talking Sporty, L franchise.
We talking sporty. Hey, hey.
All right, guys. So the most intriguing game besides the Saints game, I'm a Saints fan. Hey, quick, Saints do not draft a quarterback this year in the draft. I think we got our guy. I think we can develop Tyler Shuck. I like what he brings to the table. But other than that, the interest for me was the Shedeur Sanders Cam Ward game. That's the Tennessee Titans against the Cleveland Browns. Tennessee beat Cleveland. But Shedeur Sanders went for 394 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, and he had a pick. Cam Ward had 117 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 pick. Now it came down to with about a minute left. Cleveland drives down, and they're down 8. They scored a touchdown. You got a minute left. And on the 2-point try, Coach Kevin Stefanski, they go Wildcat and try like a trick play. And basically, you got Junkins in the Wildcat, and he's supposed to pitch the ball. And I can't remember who the receiver was coming around, but defense kind of was all over. The play didn't go as designed, and they didn't execute it well, and they failed the 2-point conversion try. A lot of people online are killing the Browns for pulling Shedeur out the game. I think anything Cleveland does, just because they set Shedeur so long when it was kind of obvious that he probably was the guy that in the building currently, anything they do is going to be so heavily scrutinized. Like, oh, you're trying to mess over Shedeur. I think they really had a play they thought would work, and it just didn't go as planned. Now, my thing is, I wouldn't have pulled Shedeur out. It's like, bro, you're playing the Titans, and respectfully, Tennessee, get 3 yards against the Titans. Get 3 yards against the Titans, bro. Like you pull that play out if you playing the damn Patriots or Bills or somebody where you know what I'm saying? It's like you extreme underdog and let's go for it, right? Like go. You got the momentum. Go get the 3 yards. Now, the most interesting thing with the Brown situation is Deshaun Watson's 21-day practice window opened up last week. So, and sources say Cleveland intends to bring Deshaun Watson back for the 2026 season. Now, that would be the last year of his 5-year contract that's not a void year. So Cleveland done some restructuring with Deshaun Watson's contract like every year, right? Because they signed him to the 5-year 250. So right currently the cap hit is like 80 mil for next year. But they did some restructuring to where they would spread it out to 2030. So theoretically, Deshaun Watson, it could be his last year in Cleveland next year, but they still will be paying him for 3 years after that. This was insanely bad. And I'm so glad the Saints didn't trade for him. I'm so glad it didn't work out. Deshaun Watson is only 30 years old. And I watching Deshaun Watson early in his career, he's so good, man. I really hope that he would get back to that high level of ball playing, but I don't know. it's gonna come down now to the Shedeur Gabriel stuff is over with. They announced Shedeur is the starter for the rest of the year. The real question is Cleveland is Shedeur gonna be your starter going forward, and opposed to Deshaun Watson? I think with that big cap hit, they're gonna try at least next year. They're definitely gonna go at least start with Deshaun Watson because it's like who's gonna take on that contract? You know what I'm saying? So I think they gonna go with Watson again, and you best believe it will be a media uproar about that. And everybody will be talking about negative about Deshaun Watson, but that's something interesting to watch out for as things progress and unfold to see how Shador finish the season and what will they do next year for Deshaun Watson. Another thing, NFL Week 14, we had Green Bay and Chicago. These two teams, I thought 3 weeks ago, I said they pretenders. I couldn't have been more wrong. These are two legit NFC contenders, and the Packers have rounded in the form, and they beat the Bears. The Chiefs are in serious danger of missing the playoffs this year. They lost to the Houston Texans. Um, they lost to the Houston Texans on Sunday Night Football. And the thing about it, the Texans have quietly won 5 in a row. They're 8-5. And with the Indianapolis Colts quarterback Daniel Jones going down, and their backup may not play next week, the Houston Texans are one game out in the AFC South, and they could actually win that division. The Chiefs, on the other hand, the Chiefs are currently in 10th place in the AFC. And they are behind teams with the likes of they're behind Baltimore, who's at 6-7. The Chiefs are 6-7 as well. They're behind the Colts, who are 8-5, and the Texans right now currently have the last wild card spot in the AFC. Um, I I thought the Broncos would win the AFC West, so I thought the Chiefs would take a step back, but this kind of low key crazy. I don't, and the Chiefs still have a good. They have man, that was a extremely good, especially in the second half, defensive battle between the Texans and Chiefs. And I don't know. I think they kind of got to retool a bit, especially with Kelsey and things of that nature. But what y'all think? Y'all think the Chiefs could pull it off this year and make the playoffs? This will be like some unbelievable stuff. But a lot of the teams in front of them got a hard schedule, like the Chargers, and there's some teams who got a lot of teams to play, and anything is possible in the NFL, especially when you got Patrick Mahomes. All right, next up, it's a topic I wanted to touch on and I missed last week was the release of Chris Paul from um, the Los Angeles Clippers. Um, Chris Paul, one of the widely regarded at least top 10 point guards of all time, probably top 5, depending on who you ask. Um, he kind of been relegated to a bench role the last couple of years, and he wasn't getting much PT with the Clippers. But it still was shocking to see a veteran at the caliber of Chris Paul get released. So Chris Paul was released after a meeting with team president Lawrence Frank, and the Clippers were 5-16 at that point. Um, it's said that it was a lot of friction within the organization with Paul, wanting the organization to hold people accountable, and basically the organization wasn't going like you don't run shit over here, Chris Paul. It said that Coach Tyronn Lue and Chris Paul didn't speak for weeks. That's insane. Like if you and your I guess if you're on a regular job, you know what I'm saying, you and your manager or somebody just not talking for weeks. It's like, wait, what? Like that's crazy. There was a situation during the game, the Clippers were playing the Mavericks, and they showed the footage, and Chris Paul basically talking to Kawhi. Kawhi was guarding Klay Thompson, and I guess Klay Thompson was torching Kawhi a bit. And Chris Paul on the bench during the timeout asked him, are you warmed up? Do you think we need to switch? We might need to switch you off of Klay until you warm up, right? So they go back on the court, and a few times the Clippers switch Kawhi for Klay. Kawhi off of Klay. So when they get on the team playing, assistant coach Jeff Van Gundy, former NBA head coach, him and Chris Paul have a meeting, and he asked Chris Paul, did you change the defensive assignments? And Chris Paul like, no, I didn't change it. I just made a suggestion. And basically, Jeff Van Gundy told Chris Paul, you don't have the leeway here that you had on other teams to do that type of stuff. Chris Paul then posts Instagram story with the definition of the word leeway. At the time, nobody knew why he did it, but Chris Haynes reports that was the situation, and that prompted Chris Paul to post that. So basically it came down to the Clippers feeling like, you know, it wasn't worth the drama for whatever they say. It just and I everybody, was like, "Oh, you don't do that to Chris Paul." And man, look, if something's not working, it's not fitting to the detriment of any organization or situation, you kind of got to part ways. It's not a thing of just because you've been here in the league and yeah, we respect everything you've done. But if it's not working, it's not working. You can't just you just gonna put them on the bench and then it's why they got Chris Paul on the bench? He ain't getting no minutes, right? It's productivity and tolerance. Not saying Chris Paul can't be productive. May have not been given the opportunity, but they're not gonna tolerate it if they feel like it's not worth it. You know what I'm saying? So that's crazy to see. What y'all think about Chris Paul? I think it said it was his last season. He said it was his last season this year. You think any team picks Chris Paul up? And what do you rank Chris Paul all time for his NBA point guards? He is one of the best ever. All right, next we're gonna wrap this show up talking LSU women's basketball. I think we may be in the hunt for another title in the body. We may be on the hunt. We'll be right back. Talking Sporty L franchise.
We talking sporty. Hey.
All right, let's talk a little women's hoops. I really love women hoops. WNBA, college basketball, I love women hoops. And I promise I'm going to get more into basketball as things progress. But this football, I've been immersed in the football. So we got the LSU women basketball team, 10-0, ranked number 5 in the country. Their first 8 games, they scored 100 points in all 8 games, right? And now, they didn't play any ranked teams. A lot of other teams in the top 10 and top 5, they played multiple ranked opponents at this point already. Their first big challenge was Duke, which on the schedule, when scheduled, Duke was a ranked team. Duke may have been for sure a top 15 team, but Duke has up until that point had lost 4 games already this year. So LSU went out to Cameron Indoor Stadium and they were down 15 points to Duke early in the game, 16-1. But they came and rallied and they ended up winning the game by 16. So they didn't score 100 in that game, but they got to 90. And they kind of showed through their first real test. Duke's is still a good team. I wouldn't be surprised if Duke, they have 5 losses now, but if Duke just turn it on and go on a run and still make the tournament. They got some dogs over there. But when LSU was down by 15, a lot of people like, see, this is what you get. Scheduling cupcakes and things of that nature. And January really gonna be the big month for LSU basketball because you got 4 games against ranked opponents. You got number 15 Kentucky, number 14 Vanderbilt, number 2 Texas, and number 9 in Oklahoma, all in the month of January. So if we feel like they haven't been tested, we will know very shortly here in about the next month what they're made of. As far as do I think they can bring a championship home? I do. I think the depth of this team, the chemistry on the team, the scoring, the defense, the size, they're one of the best teams in the country. I wouldn't be surprised if they holding up the trophy at the end of the year. But if you had to ask me currently who's the best team in the country, I would say Texas. I think Texas women. Texas women beat 3 ranked teams, 3 top 15 teams in like the last 2 weeks. Matter of fact, Texas women beat number 2 South Carolina and then number 3 UCLA in a matter of a week. So I don't even know why Texas is number 2. I get UConn, I get the roster of UConn defending national champs, but like we gotta base this off of what's going on this year. Like based on the opponents Texas have faced and what they've done, and they beat number 12 North Carolina after those 2 games I mentioned. Texas should be the number 1 team in the country. Great guard play, a flat out star in Madison Booker. So and then the SEC, man, the SEC is so if I look at this conference, and I know it's early in the season, right? We haven't started playing each other, but no team has more than 3 losses, and all but 2 teams have at least 8 wins out of 10, 11 games. It is the SEC is going to be crazy this year. So whoever makes it out of there definitely will be battle tested. But you got 3 national championship contenders in Texas, South Carolina, and LSU, all in the SEC. So what y'all think, siblings? Can the Lady Tigers bring another championship back to Baton Rouge? I sure hope so. I need to go to some of these games this year. I'm gonna be in attendance. I gotta get some tickets, man. I gotta go indulge, man. Y'all let me know what y'all think about today's episode. Comment on any of the topics. And as always, it's Talking Sporty brought to you by the Bros TV Network. I'm L Franchise, and we out.
Fast moves like lightning's whisper. Yeah. Sharp grooves, we're cutting quicker. Yeah. The game's alive, the pulse gets thicker. Yeah. Yeah. We talking sporty. Hey.